Hi everybody, it's John. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm in my classroom and I'm going to show you one of the lessons that I do with my 7th graders, and it's a math lesson. As a technology teacher, I don't really care about the process of how a student gets an answer. I just care that they get the right answer. When we're in the shop, they don't have a pencil and paper to sit down with and figure out math, so I want them to be able to do it in their head. And I've discovered a few shortcuts that I teach them on how to break a number in half, whether it be a whole number or a whole number with a fraction, and I'm going to show you that today. The first thing that we have to establish is whether it's an odd or an even number. I'm going to start with even numbers because they are the easiest and make the most sense. If we take a number like 4 and 1/2, that's basically the same thing as saying 4 plus 1/2, so we can treat them as separate entities. And any student can tell you that half of 4 is 2. And I teach the students that anytime you're trying to find half of a fraction, the rule of thumb is top stays the same, double the bottom. So top stays the same, 1, double the bottom, would be 1/4. So half of 4 and 1/2 is 2 and 1/4. Let's take 2 and 1/4, half of that, again, to see how it works. Half of 2 is 1. Top stays the same, double the bottom, 1/8. So half of 2 and 1/4 is 1 and 1/8. Now let's look at some odd numbers. One day, I used to teach my students to take like 7 1/4. I tell them to take 3 1/2, which is half of 7, plus half of 1/4 would be 1/8. They would have to turn this into 3 and 4/8 plus 1/8. The answer would be 3 and 5/8. But I was grading papers one day and I noticed a pattern. So I started messing around with it and I realized that we can skip all of this. All we have to do is we can take these numbers, take the 7, half of 7 is going to be 3 and something, we know that. So write down the 3. Then if we take the 4 plus the 1, the old numerator, and add it to the old denominator, and make that the new numerator, double the bottom, we end up with the same answer. And it works every time. I don't know why it works every time, but it does work every time. So let's take another one. Let's take 9 1/4. This would be, half of 9 is going to be 4 and something. 4 plus 1 is 5, double the bottom is 8. 4 and 5/8. Let's check it. Half of 9 is 4 1/2, plus half of 1/4 is 1/8. This becomes 4 and 4/8 plus 1/8 equals 4 and 5/8, which is what we came up with over here. So when I have a student split a number in half, they can do it in their head. I teach them how to do even numbers, how to do odd numbers, and then when we're in the shop and I say split this board in half, all they have to do is measure it and then they can find out what half of that number is without paper and pencil. And again, I don't care about the process, I just want them to get the right answer. Now what we do in our math classes is I've gone over this with our math teachers and they all know that I teach the kids to do it this way, and they still want the students to work it out the way that they teach them, because in math class the process is very important. They sometimes are more concerned about the process than the end result, where again, like I said, I want just the right result. So what I teach them to do is do it the way the math teacher teaches them, and then use my way to check their answer to make sure that it works. But as you can see, anybody can find half of a number in their head if they use this technique.